Hi, I'm Brady Calhoun. You're watching 13 Now. We're going to do a kind of a severe weather wrap up. We're going to talk to you and show you some of the damage we had from yesterday. We've got also got Chief Meteorologist Ross Whitley here with us, and he's going to be kind of telling us kind of what we went through yesterday. But first, a lot of us had flashbacks yesterday as severe weather moved through the area. We saw some damage near the station in downtown Panama City on Harrison Avenue. There was debris scattered across the road. You can see the building had some roof damage. The work trailer right in front of some others' towers crashed. This thing crashed into the playground music park. Thankfully, there were no reports of injuries or deaths, but many locals had some scary nights.
The outside ambient light turned to a little bit of a light green, and as it went overhead, you could feel it. You felt the change in barometric pressure. My ears popped really suddenly and quickly, and I was up against.
The damage affecting businesses and their belongings and work equipment was destroyed. A business who came to town to do some repairs in downtown, they kept most of their equipment inside two trailers, along with a local repairman named Chris Cox, who was, I guess, living in a mobile home over there. During the storm, they tried to move into the safest area downtown, what they saw was not typical.
We looked out and the wind was blowing, and we tried to open the door to go to the Martin Theater to get in the basement. It was too late. It was right on that, and we looked over, and these trailers were rolled over.
There was also some more damages in the Bay Point area. Faith Graham went over there this morning, took a look at what we saw over there, and she filed this report.
Hey Brady, we're finally starting to see the damage that yesterday's severe weather left. There was localized damage across the Panhandle, everything from down traffic lights to down power lines and even down trees. Right now I'm standing on Magnolia Beach Road in Panama City Beach, where residents tell me they saw a tornado go right down the block, ultimately causing a tree to crash right through this home. Now, since this morning, crews have removed the tree and everybody's going to be okay. There were no injuries. I spoke with a resident who lives here, and he tells me he was painting in the house right underneath where the tree fell. He immediately took shelter with his kids, and luckily everyone was okay. But we're going to have more on what damage yesterday's severe weather left tonight on News 13. Reporting live in Panama City Beach, Faith Graham, News 13, Panhandle Strong.
One of the first reports of bad weather came from Panama City Beach. What we have now to show you is a water spout from out there. It was sent in to us by a viewer. This is on the west end of the beach. Pretty gnarly looking, as you can see. And being told those wind gusts were around 60 miles per hour. And in Jackson County, there was some damage over there as well, and Kayla Tucker went over there, took a look at that for us, and she filed this report.
It was here before you realized it.
Severe weather rocked the Panhandle on Thursday, including Jackson County.
I hear a loud rolling. Everything got dark, and I told my husband, I said, get down on the floor, hurry, get down. Wind got stronger.
Trees down, debris on the road, power out. The widespread damage was seen all over the rural area. One trailer home now a complete loss.
Thank goodness nobody was living here, but the house across the street had children and could have very easily taken that trailer out also.
While the storm was raging on, Sheriff Roberts was actually driving in the middle of it.
When this storm hit, I actually was, when it crossed Highway 231, that's where I was, unfortunately. Could hardly see the roadway, and there were trees across the road in some places, and trying to not hit a tree, not being able to see it, but it was very difficult to drive. It was very windy, and that's probably the first tornado I've been through.
At that same time, Owen says she had flashbacks to Hurricane Michael.
We looked out the windows, and the wind was just blowing so strong, so heavy and everything. It just really, really, truly took you back to that time.
As soon as the skies cleared, residents were outside assessing damage, clearing their yards, West Florida Power was already hard at work to restore power. Robert says through the severe weather, he knows it's causing more problems than physical damage.
Putting a stress on the families, it's putting stress on the community, and I'm hoping that everybody will stick together and think positive. It's difficult to do at times, but we're making it.
In Jackson County, Kayla Tucker, News 13, Panhandle Strong.
All right. Kayla had that report for us. We saw some damages all over the Panhandle yesterday, unfortunately. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. We've not gotten any reports about injuries. We've not gotten any reports about deaths. Chief Meteorologist Ross Whitley is joining us now. Ross and producer Josh Rustin is there with us as well. You see Josh over on the left side of your screen, right side of your screen, somewhere over there. And he was a weather chaser yesterday, right?
Yeah.
A storm chaser yesterday. So kind of talk about what we saw as we got started and the severe weather started to move in. Ross?
Yeah, well, it all started early yesterday. It was actually about a little before 9 a.m. that we had our first tornado warning, and that was for northern Walton and Holmes counties. That was from a storm that basically hugged the border and produced wind damage all across South Alabama. Eventually, I think, turned into a long-track tornado through southern Georgia. So thankfully, I didn't see much damage report across the Panhandle from that storm, but that was the initial start to our severe weather. And then most people along the coast probably say, well, we didn't have anything until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And they didn't. We had storms develop off to our south and west. And because we had sunshine through most of the morning, we had a lot of instability across the coastal areas, and that got pulled north with those storms that moved in. And basically, we turned these storms into what we refer to as a QCLS. That stands for quasi-linear convective system.
That sounds great.
So it's a big fancy term for saying a line of storms.
Right.
And this one, these lines of storms were particularly strong. And anytime you get a convective system like that, a linear system, you get little notches to develop, especially when you have a whole lot of shear at the surface. And those are all fancy terms for saying it was breezy and unstable.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get these little notches to develop in that line, and along any of those notches, you can have a tornado develop relatively quickly. And unfortunately, yesterday, I think at one point in time, we had 3 confirmed tornadoes in that QCLS at one given time.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about that because I remember distinctly you were going from, well, we got a tornado in Marianna, we got a tornado in Panama City Beach-ish area, we've got another, we had, I think, a water spout at the same time that was threatening to come on shore. How do you make a decision? Where am I going to focus on as I've got 3 of these things? I just don't think about it very often that we're going to have 3 tornadoes at the same time.
Going on at the same time, yeah. And unfortunately, in events like this, you that's what goes on. Is you have multiple people you're trying to give a warning to at the same time. So, in my mind, I was trying to pay attention to whatever I thought was most imminent to anyone. So, if I thought this is confirmed tornado in Walton County or in Holmes County, then I need to focus on that and wait until the other ones are confirmed. But I'm looking at those rotations, so I was trying to spend 3 or 4 minutes talking and giving as much explanation about what was going on and where it was headed, and then move to the next rotation and do the same kind of thing. And then obviously, I think there's things that I could have done better yesterday. I think that's probably true about any type of event. There's always decisions you could have made that would have panned out. But ultimately, I think we were really just trying to do our best to warn as many people as possible that we felt were in imminent danger. And so if there was a storm that was, in the middle of nowhere, then we would zoom in on it, talk about it for, as short a period of time as we could, and then go up to those storms that were a little bit more impactful or whatever. So those were decisions that I was trying to make through on the fly yesterday, and basically just kind of wait, not as in wait, but like waited. what was most important to the most number of people while those storms were going on. And I also was trying to be fair to everybody too. If there's obviously we had bad damage in Jackson County, so I was trying to give as much information in that part of the area with that storm as I was in Bay County. Even here, where we felt threatened at one point in time with the water spout coming on shore on the west end of the east end of the beach, and then eventually into St. Andrews Bay, and then eventually into downtown.
Yeah.
So
We'll get there. I want to get there in a minute, but I want to stop and ask Josh. Josh, you were chasing these things. What did it look like as you're driving through this storm? Now, you've been a photog for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Videog, whatever.
Yeah, photojournalist, whatever you want to call me.
Yeah. And so what did it look like?
A gray wall of rain. Really, I just focused on what I could immediately see in front of me instead of what I knew I was chasing. What I knew was out there. I tried to push that as far as I could out of my mind, while I just focused on the road and keeping me safe, keeping
You had Melissa
keeping
with
me
you.
and Melissa
so you
safe.
want to
Yeah.
keep everybody safe.
Yeah.
Sure. That's priority number one. But they got us some pretty significant footage, and you were able to kind of show people what it looked like on the ground thanks to Josh and Melissa. There's a shot of that right there.
Yeah, they did some great work yesterday. It was kind of a little experiment for here because obviously we have a lot of trees and things that inhibit sight lines most of the time. But yesterday we were kind of seeing, hey, can we do this? Is it going to be beneficial if we do this? And Josh and Melissa were in basically the perfect spot all day long. They were right there when we had circulation come off the Choctaw Bay. They were just to the south of that, and then the video we're showing here was when they're on 98. Basically, they were probably maybe a couple miles to the south and west at that point in time. But to them, all they were seeing is blinding rain and gusty winds.
Right.
But it was beneficial because it was saying, hey, we're verifying where that rotation is based off of their wind direction. Like I know that the wind's coming out of the northwest there, so that circulation is definitely ongoing because it's influenced what they're seeing on 98. So I knew that was giving me confidence in what I was seeing on the radar as well. So it was fantastic. And then I think that I don't even think they realized that there was probably a water spout to their south.
Probably not. No.
For probably a good while, they were probably riding parallel with a pretty big water spout just off to their south. So
worked out fine.
it did. Yeah, they were safe the entire time. That was priority number one. And then obviously the second thing was getting good footage, and they did both of those very well yesterday.
Now, we got to a moment, and I was in here watching you basically at the equipment we're at now, and kind of talking to people on Facebook. We got to a moment where a tornado, you said, a tornado's headed towards Grace Avenue, and my brain went, that's not good. I think I'm on Grace Avenue. And in fact, the station, of course, is between Grace and Harrison.
Right.
What went on in your mind then? What were you thinking about at that juncture? I know you basically sent us all to take some shelter.
Yeah. So there were a couple of things going on. First of all was, geez, I'm about to get hit by a tornado. Second one was
never a good feeling.
No. And then the second one was, I hope that this doesn't hit the station and somehow or another misses us. That was the second thought. But every radar update was, well, this is a little bit closer, this a little bit closer. And then eventually when it was in St. Andrews Bay and I'm looking at the velocity couplet, which is telling me where the tornado was, I was like, okay, well, everyone here needs to be getting in shelter, and that's myself included. And then I thought, well, if I take shelter, people in downtown and Parker and Callaway, Springfield, all the way up, Cedar Grove area, they're not going to know what's going on because I'm in shelter. So I was like, well, if worse comes to worse, I'll hit the floor and we'll hope, and we'll stay on the air as long as I can, and then we're going to put this in the Lord's hand to protect me while I'm on the air. So I think that when that thought went through my head, it was that's when I told Lauren. I was like, hey, Lauren, you got to get out here, go get in shelter, and come back when it's safe. So that's basically the thought process was, man, I hope this doesn't hit me, and And then it was, hey, I still have a job to do here, so we gotta keep doing that job. So, and I'm not alone. There was, I don't know if everyone evacuated out of PCR, out of massacre control, but I'm assuming they were probably sitting there as well. So I wasn't the only one still thinking about job versus safety, and so that's basically what went through my mind while we were doing it, and it worked out. We're okay. So maybe that's not the best logic, but it's it's the way it goes.
Well, I certainly had, and as I'm sure you did, flashbacks to Hurricane Michael, and the way that, like, with Hurricane Michael, what happened was the power went out completely. The backup generator got slashed by a roof, and we all stood here in the dark. And some of us started to do we started working on doing a Facebook Live, and as I look back on it, it was just sort of like, I don't want to stand here in the dark and be scared, so let's find something to do.
Right.
Let's do our jobs as best we can with whatever equipment we can do, because my other option is
focus on what's going on outside.
Focus on what I can't control.
Right.
So I think there was some of that for us yesterday. As the storm moved through, you were telling people to take shelter, and in particular, people in mobile homes. You were saying, look, a mobile home is not shelter.
Right.
What do I do if I live in a mobile home and a tornado is headed in my direction and I can't stay in my mobile home?
No, and that's a big issue around here as well. Not just here locally, but across the Panhandle, because there's a lot of RV parks, mobile homes, things like that, and those just straight up are not places to be during a tornado. And proof of that was downtown. A construction trailer is basically a mobile home. And what we had come through downtown is probably going to end up being evaluated as probably an EF0, maybe an EF1 near shore, and then an EF0 as it went in town. So that's...
And those are... How strong are those?
That's probably going to be 80 or 90 mile per hour winds.
Right.
So 80 to 90 mile per hour winds picked up that trailer and threw it through the front of a storefront, and which is why you can't be in there during a tornado, because obviously you may not survive that, and that's a weak tornado versus a well-built structure is going to be fine in 80 to 90 mile per hour winds. You're going to have some shingles come off your house, or if you're unlucky, you might have a tree fall on your property or something like that. So if you're in that situation, first of all, before that's going on, when a tornado watch is issued, those are issued typically 2 hours before the first storm is initiated. That's the protocol on a tornado watch. It's 2 hours before the first storm is going to pop. So when you're put under that tornado watch, that's when you enact that plan. You say, okay, now conditions are favorable for tornadoes. I need to be able to get to a shelter within 5 minutes, because average lead time is going to be about 5 to 10 minutes on a tornado warning. Hopefully, and yesterday, National Weather Service did a pretty good job. Some people had 30 minutes of lead time yesterday, which is just phenomenal. If you get more than 5 minutes, consider yourself lucky. But you want to be able to go from your home, your mobile home or trailer or RV, to a sturdy shelter where you are in fact safe within 5 minutes. So that means, a neighbor's home, something like that. And I know during the pandemic here that we've got going on, that's a big ask, because now you're saying, well, safety versus safety.
Right.
But
yeah, I mean, normally you could go to a friend or a family member's house,
right.
Maybe, or you could all pile into a well-built shopping center kind of situation. Maybe you go to Walmart, maybe, or someplace, I don't know. But in a pandemic where we want to keep people separated and not. It's a tough situation.
So, in this case, I would say do exactly what most people did yesterday, which was say, I'm going to save my life now, and I'll worry about my life later. Because you can't do anything if a tornado ends your life. You're not going to be saving your life from COVID-19 if the tornado is if that's the end of you from the tornado. So, you want to be able to have that plan set in place. There was a couple other things that I probably should have mentioned on air yesterday, but there was a lot going on, so the things that just didn't come to my mind when it happened. But in the event of a tornado warning or tornado emergency, where we have an observed tornado on the ground, where you're going to shelter, you should have a helmet, a bike helmet, something like that. You should have sturdy shoes, boots, and comfortable clothes. So something that you would feel comfortable in walking around in, because we're talking worst case scenario here. We didn't see this type of damage yesterday other than a few select locations where a home was completely destroyed. If you are in that home and it is completely destroyed and you do survive, you A, want to survive, that helmet's going to help you do that. B, the boots are going to help you when you do get out of that building that has then been demolished, that you can walk around comfortably. And then the clothes, obviously, something else that's going to just make you feel more comfortable once that's all gone over. So those are things that you should think about. Tornado warning, okay, let me grab my stuff, I'm going to my safe spot. Now I'm there. Those are the things that you have in your safe spot, and then hopefully, you know what, you just look like a dope with a bike helmet on, sitting in a bathroom. And when it all goes by, you come out and you take the bike helmet off, and you go, oh, I'm good, and all you have to worry about is some helmet hair. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's the hope. But we always want to prepare for worst case scenario, and I don't think I have to tell anybody that. I think that was part of the reason why yesterday we didn't see any fatalities.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody saw what was going on by our coverage, and just from recent experience was like, yep, let's go get in the bathroom. Like,
this community is not like other communities anymore.
Right.
Other communities, this community before Hurricane Michael, we didn't take most severe weather seriously, and we didn't take most hurricanes seriously.
Right.
But now that we've lived through one and seen it up close, we take this real seriously.
That's right. I think a lot of people probably had a good chuckle yesterday. I hope I was able to provide at least a little bit of comedic relief during all of that. Anytime Lauren was like, there's a confirmed tornado, and I was like, yep, that's a tornado. And I hope that some people were able to sit back and kind of laugh a little bit before they were like, okay, let's get to our shelter.
Well, and we all need to make our decisions early too.
Right.
To have a plan, make a decision early. What am I going to do? How long have you been telling people there was going to be severe weather on Thursday?
Monday.
Yeah, so you started Monday, sort of saying to people, look, and we've got something coming. You need to be aware of it. You need to be ready for it.
Yeah.
And you do that every time. And they don't all end up with 2 or 3 tornadoes on the ground. Most of them, thankfully, don't. Yeah. But when it happens, you got to be ready.
And that's exactly correct. Always have a plan ahead of time, and be prepared. Prepared takes away that anxiety that we know all so well with storms that are coming in. So if you're prepared, you have something to put in place. You act when it happens, and I think a lot of people were able to verify that yesterday and feel confident in what they were doing when the storms were coming in. It's just have that plan in place, and just as you said, typically when we have systems come in, we're going to know 2 or 3 days in advance, and we're going to start saying, hey, like, these are the days that you need to be aware.
Sure.
And unfortunately, the last 3 weeks we've had 3 days like that where we were like, hey, this could be bad, pay attention. 2 of those days we had wind damage and some nasty storms, lots of lightning, things like that, but we didn't have widespread tornadoes across the area, thankfully. But they could have just as easily happened on those Sundays, Monday mornings, as they did yesterday, because that's just what the atmosphere presented. Yesterday, the storms just took advantage of what was there with the atmosphere. So thankfully and hopefully we're not talking about this anytime soon.
Josh, how many damage scenes did you run up on yesterday?
The one downtown, which was terrible. There was debris from the entrance to the marina all the way back past Trigo, and then there were a couple other spots downtown. I know Mosey's downtown took some roof damage. Wasn't anything major. And then there was a lot of debris in the road coming back down 98.
And you went through Hurricane Michael with us too. So what did you think when you saw this downtown damage?
It really brought a lot back. It reminded me of the first time we were able to come out of the news station after the storm, when we could see just everything just in the road, everything that was on top of the church next to us, everything that was on top of our building, just 1-ton air conditioners just in the road. It brought a lot of that back, but thankfully, because of going through Hurricane Michael, I was more better equipped
Yeah.
to handle it, to react, and keep myself and others out of danger.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ross, wrap this up in a bow for us, man. Tell us what you want the public to know today. Actually, you were telling us earlier we have our little meeting, our now phone call meeting that we
Yeah.
have, our Zoom meeting.
Zoom meetings.
You're telling us about the weather for the
Yeah.
next few days. What's it going to be like for the next few days to a week?
Right. I think everybody's going to breathe easy, which is nice because other than a little bit of breezy conditions tomorrow, we really have some pretty nice weather over the next 7 to 10 days. So maybe a shower or two next Wednesday, but not talking severe weather for the first time in 3 weeks. I have no sights on severe weather over the next 7 to 10 days. So that is excellent news. It'll make me happy to be able to not have to do an 18-hour day. And it'll make everyone around here happy to not have to worry about the weather. I think that's how we want to go through the day most days, is to not think about the weather, put it back in the back of our mind because it's not an issue. So
that's what I do anyway.
Yeah.
I just wait for you to yell at me, and then I know
sorry,
there's a problem.
you wait for me to say, "Hey Brady, you need to pay attention."
Hey Brady, you need to pay attention.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
it's a
right.
problem.
That's right.
Ross, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Josh?
I want to say one more thing.
Sure, go ahead.
Want to thank everybody that did choose to watch us yesterday and choose our coverage for what we were doing, and the obvious fact that people did pay attention during the coverage, because we don't have any fatalities as far as reports go, and from damage from trees being down, some homes being torn apart, and some trailers and things like that from the damage that I've seen, there could have easily been fatalities yesterday. So I think a lot of people did leave mobile homes ahead of the storm, did leave those trailers ahead of the storm, or found a safe place to seek shelter. And I think that, in fact, did save lives yesterday. So I do want to commend our viewers and our viewership yesterday for those people that took what we were saying seriously and chose us, because obviously there's plenty of places to get information these days, and we just wanted to say thank you for trusting me.
All right. Well, thanks, Ross. Thank you guys for joining us again, and everybody enjoy some blue skies and sunny weather
That's
over
right.
the next 7 days. Thanks.